I still don't know how to get out of this park.
We'll figure it out. We're getting there. Fuck, dude, dead end.
I'd love to start this podcast, but I can't even get out of this parking lot.
Should we fucking start over? Because we haven't explained we're in a car.
Nah, dude, let's just run with it. So we're in a car. We're going to talk about the moving cert. Yeah, redo it.
Here we are. We're doing the very first episode of our working title podcast. Not even sure if this is going to be usable yet. This is kind of like the pilot episode here. And in this podcast, we're going to use the time of us driving to the theater and possibly back to talk, in this case, just back, to talk about the movie of the night, basically. And tonight, we went and saw Searching. How would you introduce this movie to someone?
So Searching is the most exercise I've gotten watching a movie in a long time. If you watch this movie, bring some gym clothes to the theater. I was tossing and turning watching this movie, and I was sweating watching it.
As we were pulling into the climax of the movie, I could hear your breath catching. You were breathing heavily, The
cool thing about this movie is it had multiple climaxes.
Yeah, because you kept thinking, oh, this is it, and it's not it. And then this is it, and it's not it.
By the way, we're going to spoil the shit out of this movie.
This is all spoilers, so if you haven't seen it, see it.
Yeah. Where do we even begin with this monster?
So we could talk about how, when I first saw the trailers for it and stuff, I was like, I don't think this idea is a good one, because all of the movie is basically from the point of view of a man's laptop. All of the cameras in the movie are sort of in-universe. They're there. Sometimes it's a security camera. Sometimes it's a laptop, like a FaceTime
It's like
call.
Digital found footage.
Yeah.
There are some scenes where they are from cameras, but they're either placed there, or it's a security camera, or a confession tape. Yeah, I didn't think that was going to work for it watching the trailer either. Because movies like that, they're very limited.
Yeah.
But this one, you could not make this movie without that gimmick. And it didn't seem gimmicky in this movie.
It didn't, which I expected it to.
I know there's a movie Unfriended, and I didn't bother seeing it after it got crushed with reviews. But I think this is definitely the best found footage movie I've seen. Especially with this gimmick. I've never seen it like this.
I kind of forgot about Unfriended because I also didn't see it. I took one look at a YouTube ad for it, and I was like, that looks like steaming garbage. And I still haven't seen it, but
I like the way that they marketed this movie because it told you what it was about, but it really didn't give away too much because there are so many climaxes we talked about.
There's plot twist after plot twist.
As soon as they did the thing with the fins and the sweatshirt that he found in his daughter's car, I'm like, oh my god, it was his brother. That's how this movie's gonna end. He's gonna beat the shit out of his brother, maybe die, and I don't know. Let's sort of go
do some chronological processing of what happened, because in the start of the movie things are sort of normal. The guy's kind of distant with his daughter, and she's at a study group meeting, and that's all we know. And now I was like, it's the brother, because he asks about the study group meeting. And I was like, I feel like she's not at study group right now. Teenagers are full of shit. So she's not at study group right now. Yeah. I was like, this guy is up to something.
He's cooking for her. That's what I had a thought about that too.
Yeah, because later, was that when he was cooking or was that later? I think he was cooking later.
Right away he was cooking.
Okay, so that was all one scene, but
And then there was the pot that he found.
Oh yeah, he was like, oh, is there weed in that soup or whatever he was cooking? Kimchi? That's sort of mild foreshadowing, I guess. Oh, sick, rain.
One good thing about this movie, not one, there's many.
Yeah.
But a cool thing about this movie is every character mattered. Every character that was introduced, the brother could have just been tossed aside.
Right,
but
he could have been a side character.
He was used as a fake almost, and it made it seem like...
He was like a double fake out.
Yeah,
because you're this guy is just a side character that's sort of exposition.
Yep.
But then he comes back later and you're like, oh my god, he's a murderer. And then you're like, oh, he's just smoking pot and sitting around.
This was basically the best episode of Scooby-Doo.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, this guy's passing me.
Why is this person going 40 on the interstate?
I don't know. But that's
once again, this
quite
is in
irritating.
a car.
We are in a car currently.
He's driving a mystery machine.
And I can't see out my window, but we're still going to send it. If we get in a crash...
This will be the best.
This will be the best podcast.
I guarantee it gets at least 100 views.
Oh, definitely.
We get in a car accident and die.
Whoever finds this, still upload it. Back to Searching. You think that the brother did it, and then you think that just some guy did it. Because someone did mention it could be a completely stranger. I want to say that was a YouTube comment.
Yeah, no, it was on the Reddit. There's a point where he checks Reddit, I'm pretty sure, and some guy's like, oh yeah, some random pervert probably murdered her or something.
And then you think it's a random pervert, and it's not. That's like a felon that she was associated with. She being the detective.
The detective that was helping the father all throughout the movie turns out to be the sort of the one behind his daughter's disappearance. More like she was covering for her son, who was the one who caused the guy's daughter's. Wow, it's a lot of rain.
I can't see anything.
Yeah.
I'm gonna talk about the
Really.
technical aspects of the film. So the technical aspects, John Cho, who played the dad in it, did a great job. He had to carry this movie with the gimmick that it had with the found footage / screen recording aspect. He did a great job carrying this movie because that must be hard to do for what? This must have been a 2-hour movie?
It was like a little under movie. 2 hours. I think it was a little shorter, because I feel like that gimmick couldn't have lasted forever.
The thing is, it seemed to last forever. I wanted it to.
Yeah,
there was no point where
it didn't
I was
overstay
tired.
its welcome, but I feel like eventually it would have. You couldn't have made this a 3-hour movie.
True.
I also wanted to say some of the dialogue writing in some spots was weird, particularly in the texting conversation. Sometimes I feel like nobody would do that.
Yeah.
I feel like 80 times in this movie someone started typing it and then typed something else. The only time it was acceptable, it was acceptable most of the time, but the one time where I was like, that's good, is when at the beginning he's like, your mother would be proud too, and he deletes it, and then at the end of the movie he actually says it.
Yeah, he just does it. That was good to show some growth of his character. Let's just talk about the first 5 minutes of this movie. How the very it reminded me of Up.
Yeah, I almost said something. I almost said we're gonna get upped.
Yeah, no, we definitely got
way too
upped.
happy.
It was happy mom's dead.
Yeah.
Oh, sadness. But it was done well. I literally teared up in the first 5 minutes of this movie.
Shit.
And I was just like, Jesus Christ, let's see where this goes. And then, yeah, that was quite the.
It's a good movie if someone's mom dies within 10 minutes.
Well, it's just that's where the found footage aspect worked, where you see all the home videos and you see progression.
Yeah, and she's and she's beating her cancer.
Yeah,
and then it's there's her in the hospital dying.
And because it was the way it was, it seemed so real,
Yeah.
It seemed like these were real people, and this is what was actually happening.
In the introduction of the movie, you sort of see the daughter grow up. It starts out with her as a baby, and then she's playing with a toy piano, and she's playing on a real piano, and then she's playing the piano for real. And as the mother's dying, it sort of runs back, and she's playing the toy piano for her in the hospital. Mm-hmm. I'm definitely pleasantly surprised, and I had a feeling I would be when all the reviews for it came out good, because I was skeptical
considering how hard of a movie this must have been to pull off.
Yeah, that's the thing. While I felt at times the dialogue writing was perhaps a little lackluster, I would say the planning and the plotting of how the movie was going to unfold was really well done.
What did you think about the final end of the movie, the final reveal, final reveal of who did it? Do you think that was a cop out, or do you think that
that's a good
or do you think that was a satisfying ending with it being just the cop?
Okay, so for the when it was first revealed, I was like, that's bullshit. There was no evidence. But then it goes back and shows you there was evidence.
Yeah, there was.
I earlier in the movie was like, her son is fucking weird.
Yeah,
and at
you
the
did
movie,
say that.
He's a psychopath and a stalker.
Yeah.
And it's this movie was very deliberate. They knew what they were doing at all times. Is that guy gonna pass us on the right? Yeah, so it's very deliberate, and you could tell the whole movie was thought out.
Yeah.
There
weren't a lot of really loose ends at all.
Yeah.
When the movie credits rolled.
And also there was no fluff. There wasn't anything that didn't need to be there that was.
Exactly. That's why the whole brother character, I'm like, why is he in this movie?
Yeah.
Is he only in this movie to talk to the guy to
expose for exposition?
Exactly.
Which is totally what I thought.
And then even the pot joke is haha, pot, and he's like, oh, it's oregano. No, that was relevant because he was smoking pot with the guy's daughter.
Right.
I don't know, it was just super well done.
Yeah, and that's the first reveal where it's because I said earlier, I thought the brother did it. Immediately when the girl was at the study group and everything, I was like, okay, so I feel like the brother is up to something here. And it turns out he was.
Yeah.
And the movie really makes you think that he's a killer or whatever. Or no, it makes you think he's a pedophile. It makes you think that the brother is having sex with his niece.
Yeah, no, he seemed a little bit off from the beginning of the movie.
Yeah.
But in the whole the fins thing, like the dolphins.
Yeah,
because
like he's like obsessed with the dolphins.
It seemed too random to be a coincidence, so I did pick up on that, but
I remember when
everyone did.
He zooms in because, like, I mean, if you're listening to this, you've probably already seen the movie because we're doing a spoiler thing.
Yeah, we're assuming they have.
When the father zooms in on the car and you see the fins pin, like everyone in the theater was like, "Oh shit," because like it was set up well because the movie established without you realizing it that the brother was like a big Fins fan.
Yeah.
And you see the Fins pin on the sweater in the car that was driven to the lake, and you're like, well, shit.
Yeah,
he did it. That's like, what do you call it? Smoking gun evidence. It's him.
Now, why was that in the car? That was never really...
Oh, yeah.
Must have been just from them smoking pot, I guess?
Yeah, or like she borrowed it or something.
Yeah.
It never did explain that. I mean... I don't think it did anyways, unless like it was mentioned in some like text message that got scrolled past. Because that's the thing, their text messages, when he goes back and looks at his daughter and his brother's text messages, totally looks like there's some weird incest stuff going on.
Yeah.
But that's because the movie like wants you to think that. Mm-hmm. And then when you're like, oh, this guy's like, he's fucked. And then it makes, the father's like in this rage and he goes in and like freaks out on his brother. And like you're like, yeah, get him, but also like don't get him too much because the police need to go arrest him.
Yeah.
Then you realize, like, because you're sort of in the heat of the moment, and so is the main character. You're sort of like in the same boat. That they were actually a lot more vague than we thought. Like we were like, oh yeah, that's totally. They're talking about sex. They're just talking about literally doing anything.
Yeah.
And it's interesting how the movie like sort of, since it is through like the perspective of all these webcams and stuff, but it's still very much from the father's point of view.
Yeah.
It sort of pulls you into his emotional state with things like that, where it's like you're also not paying attention to the finer details because of the heat of the moment. I think that's cool.
I feel like this movie has a lot of rewatch value because like you can watch this and every time there's like a quip or you notice something from like the live stream about like the person talking, it just makes it more interesting, you know?
Yeah, for sure. I think if we went back and watched it a second time, we would see evidence that the detective was the...
Yep, exactly.
Like, I'm almost certain that they actually put it in there.
Like, well, definitely, because she told them to stop investigating. She told them to just stop. Like, she said that because he was doing too good a job.
Right, like, she knew he was on her tail. And, yeah, like, it does, like, add up, which is cool.
No, he was a better investigator than the investigators, and I like that.
Yeah, it was interesting. I wish, like, he had a reason for that, I guess, because it's kind of weird that he just, like, managed to outsmart a detective who should know exactly how to avoid this exact thing from happening.
True.
I like the, like, subtle reveal of when he calls the police station, he's looking for the detective, and he's like, and she's like, oh, yeah, it was really interesting how she volunteered for the case, and I didn't really catch it, and then he was like, wait, what? And I was like, wait, what? And then it was like, that was the real smoking gun evidence. It's like, you knew that it was her at that point.
The thing was, the detective, I feel like, did take it to heart. Like, she was crying multiple times throughout the movie, and I think she did feel bad, but it's just too much, like, up her son's ass to the point where, remember the story about how she lied for her son?
Right.
When her son was going around taking money from her neighbors or whatever.
Oh, yeah, that was like, totally foreshadowing.
Yep, and
Holy shit.
That's where she fucked up. And that's why when you go back and watch this movie and you see that moment, you're like, you bitch.
Because, like, I was like, that's kind of fucked up. Like,
no, it is.
In the moment, I was like, that's kind of fucked up that she actually took all that money.
And that should have been a red flag right away, like, hey, this lady's crazy.
But we just, like, we sort of dismissed it as, like, oh, yeah, she's a character who's flawed.
Yeah. But I feel like she was actually trying to relate to the dad in the movie because I think she genuinely felt bad.
Yeah.
But she's just too protective of her son.
Yeah,
I thought that was interesting.
I think I already went over this, but, like, I like how it really sort of foreshadowed that something was weird with the son. She, like, never, anytime he was around, she sort of shoot him off.
Yeah, especially...
And he sounded awkward.
Especially the scene where he popped out...
While she was screaming at the dad.
Yeah, she was talking to the dad, and then her son comes in, and she's like, you gotta get out of here. Because her son is mentally unstable and clearly wouldn't be able to handle himself in that situation. He would give it up.
He'd, like, blow it. Yeah. And, like...
It would have been cool to see a clue there, though. It would have been cool to see the son say something.
Yeah, I don't think they could have like given a hint from him without giving it away too much.
Spoiling it away, yeah.
Because like, if he said anything that even sounded familiar to the case, you'd be like, well, that's weird.
Yeah.
And like we were saying earlier, there's a lot of fake outs in this movie, because first you think it's the brother, then you think it's the random like convict.
Yep.
And
then you think she's dead.
You think she's dead. Then you find out that it's the detective, but it's not actually the detective. It's the detective covering for her son. That's like 4 fake outs.
Yeah.
And of course, the whole movie, I was like, well, she's gonna be alive in the end. There wouldn't really be a movie if it was just like, oh, she's dead. It's sad.
But multiple times I was like, oh shit, she's dead. That's how it's gonna end.
I was like, no, they're definitely. I remember I leaned over to you at one point. I was like, bullshit. When it went to the part where it said the convict killed her, like they were like, oh yeah, she's dead. The convict owned up to it. I was just like, bullshit.
Now, here's a question I have. What's the deal with the online funeral service, and how's the kid connected to that? So, I don't understand that.
I think
it was a trying to make money off of it?
I think it was a coincidence, because I don't think he was actually linked to that. Remember, he drew the like line between them because of the girl in the stock photo.
Yeah.
Was the same one as the stock photo that the kid used for his fake account to stalk the daughter.
I completely forgot about that whole.
It's like totally just a lucky coincidence, which in hindsight is like
kind of. Yeah.
Like that's really
unlikely. A little bit of Deus Ex Machina there.
Yeah, really. But like you don't notice it because they sneak it in and you're just like too caught up in the moment.
They really do, because I forgot about that reveal. The good thing about this movie is they do have several reveals like that where it's like, oh, this is what's gonna happen. It's like
and it's rarely what actually is gonna happen.
Yeah. No, the cool thing about this movie is it's more of an experience than it is a movie. It really, you delve into the world. Yeah,
like you're part of it. Like I said, you get caught up in the father's feelings with him.
You recognize all the things they're using. Everyone has iPhones. A lot of people have MacBook Pros. They had Windows there too.
Yeah, so. And like he goes through he uses Google a lot, Google Images to find the stock photos. He goes on like Facebook, Twitter for like 2 seconds. He goes on Tumblr. He goes on. I'm pretty sure the live streaming one was made up.
Yeah.
I forget what it was called.
But I mean, there's stuff like that.
Yeah, for sure.
They put you in a very familiar world, which makes it easy to relate to these characters and be there for the ride and act like you're there with them. You know.
It also had it had a sense of humor at times, which is interesting. I remember one part where everyone laughed is when he logs into his dead wife's account and Norton pops up and is like, hey, you haven't run a scan in 694 days.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, oh, it's like, that's sad, but like, it's funny.
No, it is.
Because like, everyone who has a computer relates to the antivirus popping and be like, hey, asshole, you might have a virus.
Also, when he logs into like the live stream service,
for 2 seconds, he starts streaming his face.
Yeah,
someone joins and leaves.
Someone leaves. Also,
was the person who joined the creep?
Ooh, I don't think so. I think it's just some random person.
Okay. Because that would have made me shit myself.
Oh, God. We should... That's another thing. Anyone going to see this movie, check that out if you're rewatching it or whatever, just see if that was fish and chips.
Because there's a point where the father finds out about her live stream account and he starts the live stream and he's just sitting there awkwardly because he doesn't understand what it is. Someone joins the stream, sees that it's not the girl whose account it is, and leaves. But if that was the quote unquote killer or the criminal or whatever, and he joined and saw the father, then that would make sense for why they were just like, okay, nope, instead of being like, hey, who's this?
Yeah, true. Because if it was that character, which would be a freaking sick
crazy foreshadowing. Really slight, just a really good subtle touch. Man, that's the thing. I
don't think it was though.
I don't remember, but I wouldn't be too surprised if it was, because this movie was really well thought out. But I don't remember. I wasn't paying attention because that's not something I would think about. I just thought it was a little gag.
Yeah. No, another point of comedy there was when he was watching a live stream, and then he's like, "Can you see me?"
Oh yeah. Oh, that was so awkward and slightly relatable to parents not understanding.
Yeah, one flaw with this movie is that demographic can't relate to as well as millennials and Gen Z and young people who know technology and use it the way this movie.
The weird thing was, so he didn't know what Tumblr was. He didn't know about live streaming stuff. But he was weirdly proficient with Google and tracking information through the internet.
Even more than me.
Yeah, people actually use it, and he's clearly kind of inept with it, and he's pulling out these crazy comparing stock photos and all this stuff, and it's clearly doesn't know what a stock photo is either, I guess, because after he finds the stock photo, he still calls the model and is like, hey, you need my daughter.
Yeah.
So I guess they do sort of hold up that.
But the thing about it is, I think they do all those things because if, say, my dad were to watch this movie, at some points he'd be like, well, what's going on here?
Yeah.
But because the dad in the movie doesn't know these things, my dad watching the movie is like, okay, I'm going to learn about this thing with this character.
Yeah,
it makes people who don't know that kind of tech in software, it makes them, it's almost like an e-how, you know? Like they're learning along with the character. It's kind of cool.
Like, yeah, some people probably don't know that live streaming is a thing like that.
Exactly.
Like, yeah, you sort of learn with it. The movie is just really, like, I feel like they thought of everything here. And that's interesting.
They really did.
Because, like, even in a lot of well thought out movies, like, I feel like the way this one was planned ahead rivals movies like Prisoners, and, like, I don't know, Arrival.
Yeah.
Those are both by the same guy, aren't they?
Yep. Denis Villeneuve.
Yeah, so, like, I don't know. It's because this one didn't go to crazy, like, mindfuck lengths like those.
It didn't.
But it still had you like, oh shit.
It was
organic.
It was a crazy thriller. Because really, like, nothing really happened. There weren't, like, a lot of action sequences in this movie.
Yeah, you see, like,
but
a teenager
kept you there.
Fucking punched in the face.
Usually you need, like, those action sequences to say, like, to keep you that engaged, but they didn't need it with this technique.
The writing and, like, the mystery unraveling and, like, you being part of, like, trying to figure it out for yourself. There was, like, an active participation of the viewer in this movie, and that's really rare. I don't know if I know any other movie that involves the viewer like that, because, like, you're watching it and you're trying to figure it out, you're looking at the clues he's looking at, and, like, you're also trying to suss out what happened. In, like, a lot of mystery movies do that, but in this one, like, there's no dramatic irony where you know something the main character doesn't.
Yeah.
Because you're following him and, like, what he does.
In fact, you're a couple steps behind.
Yeah, like, because you don't see what goes on in between, like all the FaceTime calls.
I do like a good movie where it's like a puzzle where you're trying to put everything together and figure out what's up. But this one's tough. Like, you enjoy trying to guess who the killer is or who the bad guy is in every movie. This one, I think you'll have a tougher time because it's literally the probably the person you would least suspect to be the person, the bad guy.
Second to only the dad.
No, I would say...
You suspected the dad at some point?
I know, I didn't. But the thing is, I would almost suspect the dad over the cop. Just because... I don't know. That would be a crazy twist.
I guess, but I feel like it would have been like... There's no way they could have made it make sense because the guy's obviously severely devoted, like, almost to a fault to finding his daughter. Like, he goes to the theater and punches that, like, the fucking douchey vape kid in the face and, like, breaks his jaw.
True.
You know? So unless it, like, the only way they could have pulled that off is, like, they revealed him to be, like, a supreme sociopath.
No, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, like...
But, and there was an aspect of this movie I thought was, like, Gone Girl. I don't know if you've seen that.
There was a fucking... At one part in
No, it talked about it.
Yeah, it mentioned Gone Girl. It was, like... Yeah.
Because it made it seem like it could have possibly... a way that this movie could have ended with is the girl faking her own death and actually escaping. But I wanted to believe that her home life wasn't that bad. Yeah. Because she does love her dad, you know?
But the thing is, like, you don't know what else is going on because, like, the father doesn't know stuff outside of her home life, so you don't.
True.
Because the movie follows him like, really closely, like I said before. So, like, I didn't want it to be this. But for the majority of the movie, I was thinking she ran away and got involved in something bad.
Oh, me too.
The only thing that ever kept me from thinking, oh, she just booked it, was that she had those... There's this really tense scene where she calls him 3 times, and it just shows his screensaver on his Mac and the call notification, and then it's like, the last one's like a FaceTime, and you see him sleeping, and he's like not waking up to the call. Like,
no, that was definitely...
That was tense. Everyone was like...
No, that's what I was talking about when I said this movie's a workout. Because when I saw that, I was like, it was good cringe. Like, I was cringing in my seat.
Oh yeah, I think a lot of people were.
It was like, pick up the freaking phone computer, because no one uses messages on their computer like that, do they? Is that a thing?
No, yeah, that's like a thing.
I know it's a thing, but do people actually use that?
I mean, let's say you're on your computer already, which he clearly was a lot because he was using it to, like, try and figure out what happened to his daughter, you know, and someone iMessages you.
Yeah.
You can either just like press Command Tab and switch over to iMessage, or you can pull out your phone, unlock it. So it makes sense that he used it. And even if he was texting on his phone, it would have synced up, so you would still see it on iMessage on his computer. So I think it was just it makes sense, and it was more convenient. And
let's go into the issues with this movie.
I have one more thing I want to say.
All right, let's hear it.
So one thing is the movie encouraged you to try and put it together on your own. Like I said, you're involved, but it also throws out like red herring after red herring to throw you off and make you think you've got it. Like I thought I figured out it was the brother. I thought I figured out it was something else. I don't remember. I think the brother was the main one. And there were a couple things where I was like, oh, dude, I called that. But then it wasn't the case. And it's like, I realized after the movie, it's like, it wanted me to think I called it.
Yeah.
Like, I played right in the writer's hands.
It wanted you to get that pleasure and be like, haha, I'm so smart. And then it's like, no, actually, you're wrong. I love that.
Yeah, that's great. Like, the movie was several steps ahead of me the whole time.
Yep.
So, problems. Things that weren't great about the movie.
I don't know if I can name a whole bunch of them.
Like I said, the character dialogue at times seemed weird.
Yeah.
But I think it's hard to basically play out that scene.
Say I love you, Dad. Like, come on.
Yeah, really. He never says it.
Like, you just went on this whole, you got pushed down a cliff. Say I love you, Dad. And say I love you to your daughter.
Yeah.
Like, it's just weird.
There's some weird, like, I don't feel like people would talk like that moments, you know?
Yeah.
But then there's also...
Take out the trash yourself. Like, I know it needs to be done. So just do it, Dad.
Yeah, like...
And then just ground her or whatever.
Yeah, when he, like, bitches her out for not taking out the trash, and then the next day the trash is still there, and that's how he figures out that something's weird. It's like...
Really?
Why didn't you take it out? That thing's full. It is full. You can't put anything else in there. There's like banana peel in there that
what I'm wondering is, like, at the end of the day, you know, she's in the hospital and stuff. Is that trash still full?
Yeah.
Is there still like the
Did anyone take out that trash?
Did anyone take out the trash?
The second she checked out of the hospital, she got home, like, the trash can was waiting for her. And it was like overflowing at that point. It'd been like 5 days. Oh shit, I want to go back to the point where the detective, who's the bad detective, is like, oh yeah, she would have had to survive 5 days without water. There's no way, she's dead. And then the father's like, no, she only had to survive 2 days. There was a storm the other day.
Yeah.
Earlier, there was a storm in the movie that delays the search when they're looking for the daughter.
Oh,
and you don't think anything about it. Remember that? Like,
Yep.
that comes back. It's like, oh yeah, she survived because she had storm water to drink that flowed down the hill to her.
Wow.
Like, did you not realize that? Like, when he said it?
I knew about the storm, but I wasn't thinking about when they... I remember the picture, it was in the trailer, of, like, missing $10,000 reward, and it was, like, being poured on.
Yeah, yeah.
And wow, I didn't even think about that. And again, that's why it has a lot of rewatch value.
Yeah, like...
You see a scene like that, and you're like, she's drinking water right now.
She's drinking.
She is surviving.
Yeah, it was really, really well thought out. And I feel like even though I don't remember, I would put a small amount of money betting that it was actually the kids' creep account that watched the stream for like 2 seconds.
I really don't think it was.
Because I'm willing to put like $3.50 on it.
Well, let's make that bet right now.
All right, $3.50. We're shaking hands.
Yep. Because we'll probably have to see this movie again. It was that good.
It was.
But any closing remarks on Searching? I
would say if I had to recommend it to someone, like, what I would tell them is that it's probably like one of the most interactive movies like ever made. Oh, definitely. It's almost like a game.
Definitely one of the best of this year. Like, it's definitely making my top 3 as of right now.
Yeah, you're a part of this movie, and I think that sets it apart from a lot of other movies. Anything, you have any closing statements?
Go watch Searching. It, like I said, it's an experience. It's not a movie. I live to watch movies like this. I go out of my way to look for movies that give you that experience, that roller coaster ride of like a perfect thriller. So definitely go see it. Yeah.
It'll be criminal if this underperforms.
Oh, definitely.
Like, this deserves to make it big. This movie was clearly like had some feeling put into it.
Mm-hmm. For sure. All right, and that's gonna conclude our first ever Untitled podcast.
Yep.
We're actually in our hometown now, so that gave us the perfect amount of time to talk about this movie. We hope that you guys enjoyed, and we will see you next time we're out of town watching a movie. See you guys.
$8.
I don't know yet. I have
the smallest denomination I have is a 10.
all right, I have an 8, so we have $18.
You have an $8 bill?
Hi, how can I help you?
Hi, could we get one mix and match deal? A Big Mac and a 10-piece with sweet and sour sauce. Could we also get a small
Dr. Pepper.
Dr. Pepper with no ice, please? And could we also get one bacon McDouble and one McChicken, please?
Anything else?
Nope, that'll do it.
$9.90 is the first window.
Thank you.
We just got like 4 meals for $10.
Yeah, but did you see how it went from 13
Yeah,
and then it went down to 9?
power move.
Yes,
Mix and match
sir.
deal.
Oh fuck! I didn't ask for no pickles.
Rest in peace. You're gonna have to
Right.
take them off
I'm
with
gonna
your
have to-
hands like a peasant.
I know.